Hello, listeners. Welcome to Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the podcast where we find a topic and fit its components into a tier list. In today's episode, we'll be creating a TV show tier list. I'm your host, Luke Webster, and joining me today is Levi Lewis. He's a film and video major here at Edinboro, and he's been a good friend of mine for some time now. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, got any small talk, any things to talk about before we get into the show?
Oh, well, just recently my car was severely damaged at work the other day, so that was real fun. Bad. Yeah. Late night right before closing at work, we had some I'll say hooligans.
Oh dear.
Donutting around in our parking lot, which was real fun. And so that inevitably led to them busting my lights on the front half of my car. All is well and taken care of, or will be, but I am operating on one headlight.
Oh my gosh.
Because of that, and a slightly bent hood, which is cool.
That's ridiculous. That's going to be a decent amount to cost to fix that.
Their problem, not mine.
Oh gosh. My small talk story for today. I was at Sheetz, semi recently, and I was closing. I got out of work. I was like, I want to go to Sheetz. I'll, get some gas, maybe get some food because I'm kind of hungry. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend in my truck, and just I'm doing what normal people do. I'm looking around, glancing. I'm looking around because I got nothing better to do. I'm talking on the phone, and I briefly made eye contact with this guy in a truck, like kind of next to me, and I didn't even think twice about it. I just kind of looked the other way because you don't want to make awkward eye contact with someone. And I'm like about to hang out with my girlfriend when I hear like some hollering just outside of my truck. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, here, give me a second, babe. I gotta go do something. I open up the truck and this guy's like, just stop staring at me and get a girlfriend. He's like going off. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like screaming at me like that I'm staring at him when I maybe glanced at him for a second. And I'm just, what is going on? And I heard what he actually said. He was like, stop staring at me and get a girlfriend. I'm like, well, ironically, I'm on the phone with her right now if you want to talk to her, and like held the phone up towards his direction. And he's just like so angry he's unable to form words, just like and then just sped off and drove off. So that happened.
I imagine he was still making noise as he drove away. So it's like
yeah, just the people you run into at Sheetz, man. And like that all just happened just because I made very brief eye contact with him.
What a crowd. I love that.
Well, you love to see it. Well, I guess we better start working on this tier list. We were going to try to organize this into genre of the show, but I think we're just going to do them as they come to mind here.
Works for me.
Do you just want to start off with like the obvious and like do The Office to start?
The Office, sure. Right. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what your feelings about it are. Like, I feel like it's a solid show. It's entertaining, but I think it's slightly overrated. Like everybody loves The
agree,
Office.
because there's a good chunk of episodes to me where I'm like, some of this isn't funny and I'm just uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah.
There's a fair bit amount of episodes that do that for me. But there's a good chunk that also are really funny. So I don't know, it kind of neutralizes itself where I'm like, yes, people love those really good episodes a lot, and those are very funny, but then there's the other ones that back it down for me a little bit. So I don't know, it's a consistent show that most people are probably like, yeah, it's one of my favorite comedies. And I'm like, sure, good for you, I guess. Yeah. So for me, Office maybe better than the average. So I'd say I maybe put it at a B.
I think B tier is fair. The thing for me about The Office is like a lot of the characters are just not likable to me. Like some of them are really bad people.
It really has like a centric like 3 or 4 characters that it cares about, and everyone else is just there.
Yeah.
Then they have their moments every now and then, but they're really just there for like set dressing, I guess, more than anything.
I get so much secondhand embarrassment watching the show, like some of the things that go on, especially just everything that Michael Scott does. Like I get secondhand embarrassment just trying to watch it. But I mean, like I said, don't get me wrong. The show is funny. It's entertaining. I mean, it is probably the most common TV show that everyone like our age has seen and enjoys.
Oh yeah.
But I think B tier is a fair.
And especially comparing it perfect segue is to its like similarly written and produced show is Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Which Parks and Rec I watched before I watched The Office. Yeah. And for me, my complaints about The Office are like a lot of them are mended in Parks and Rec, which came out after, well, was worked on after they started The Office and everything. So for me with Parks and Rec, it's like every character is something, and even the side characters have very distinct personalities, even if they only pop up once a season or something like that. Like I know what they're about, and they're very funny in their own realm, and so they all work together very well. They're all very funny. Most of them have a moment at least once an episode. Everyone's important, everyone's funny, and that puts Parks and Rec above The Office for me. There's still the same thing where it's sometimes it's crude humor or whatever, and there's certainly a couple episodes that are like make you real uncomfortable, whatever, because that's just the style of humor. It's pressuring social interaction, but for me, the Parks and Rec hits above on Office.
Parks and Rec is probably an A tier for me.
I would say that it's my most consistent like comfort comedy. Like I can watch that whenever and I'll be happy. I
also watched Parks before I watched The Office, and just like you said, like every character has a distinct personality, and like the characters are just very likable, and like when the relationships start happening, like you're kind of like cheering them on, and I don't know, I just love the show. Very comforting. I actually just bought the whole DVD set on eBay. It's supposed to show up in the mail in the next couple of days because I didn't want to pay for a subscription on whatever service it's on.
It jumps services every couple of months. It's on a different streaming platform or whatever, and it
used to be on Netflix for the longest time.
It's been Netflix now. I think it's on Peacock, and you only get like the first like 2 seasons free or something like that. But
you gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Parks and Rec, like I love the humor. I laugh at the same jokes every time that I watch it through. And especially just that Chris Pratt is on the show and his character is hilarious. I'm even thinking to the side characters like John Ralphio. He's like in a few episodes.
That's what I was thinking of.
Steals the scene every time he's there.
That's what I was thinking of when I was thinking about side characters. I was like, yeah, John Ralphio pops up. I think he's maybe in 10 episodes in the entire show. But he is like, the full attention is on him whenever he's on screen, and he is wacky hilarious. And one of my favorite things I've noticed about it is like every single time I watch through a couple episodes, it's always like I pick up on more humor. There's always like so much little stuff that's background, and it's always great. But also like I remember watching it when I was younger, and I was like, yeah, like these characters are so wacky. They're so like exaggerated portrayals of people, or whatever. And then like as I've grown up, I'm like, nope, this is people.
Yep, it's just people.
These are just people.
I think my favorite character is either like Ron or maybe Ben. Those are probably my favorites.
Yeah, Ron's just a big softie secretly.
Real quick, and then we'll move on to the next show. I think my favorite moment, the funniest moment in the show to me, is when Ron, Chris, and Ben get food poisoning. It's like the cold open to the show.
Yeah.
And they're like rolling around on the floor, like trying to contact Tom. And I think that's that
poor little man, he must be. They're like,
then he walks into Levi. Ron's like, I cracked the toilet Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. That's so good.
Parks and Rec will be A tier.
Yeah.
That's a good choice there.
Yeah. Stick with the same family, then we can do Brooklyn
Nine-Nine.
And I think it more similar to The Office. I'll say I'm never uncomfortable watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
In the same way. And it's just always funny.
Yeah.
And the just overall story to tell Brooklyn is more subdued than maybe Parks and The Office. Is that like the story beats they have for the characters moving forward, they do it a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually we still get to these big character moments and character development and everything, but it happens a lot more gradual.
Yeah. While
Parks and even The Office are they have a little bit more story injected into them. But Brooklyn is just like, all right, we did The Office and it was wild and zany, and we're going to move on to Parks, and then I do Parks, and it's like, okay, we're going to do more story. It's still going to be just as funny, but we're going to do it differently. And then Brooklyn was like, all right, what if we go even crazier? And every episode we're going to do some absolute wild opening. It's going to be like the bits that are in that.
The cold opens are got to be one of my favorite parts of the show. Like
they do cold opens, I think, better than any show. Like they are like comedy. It was like,
I think every episode had a cold open.
Yeah. and they're all like just absolutely wild sketches or wild skits or whatever. And it's so good.
I just love Andy Samberg, and I'm pretty sure he's like a part of producer on the show.
Yeah.
And his humor is just aligns with me so well.
It's so like
just goofy humor.
Equally like childish and and serious at the same time. He's good. I would put it above The Office.
I almost want to put it in B tier, but like higher than The Office.
Yeah, I'm in a similar vein.
My only downside on the show is they got really political in the final season of the show, and they made it political, and I don't know, it wasn't as funny. It was more serious.
Yeah,
because even think I finished.
Because even with Parks is it gets very very political throughout a good chunk of the show, but it's all just like poking fun at just like overall like
they've
like,
kind of poke fun at both sides.
Yeah, and it's very like the city government's weird and small towns are funny or whatever, but they never get hyperbolic or anything. So I would say above The Office, but in B. Good for that.
Let's see. Well, I know you've seen Game of Thrones, so if you want to briefly touch on that, I won't have anything to contribute. So,
man, yeah, sure, I'll keep it very spoiler light then for you. But yeah, Game of Thrones is such a polarizing topic for people. Man, it's very intense. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of there's a lot of variety of content in the show. But and the biggest divisive point that people have about the show is the ending, which I feel it, but I feel like there's a lot of shows that struggle with ending. I'd probably say there's more shows that have a ending that people aren't happy with than shows that have a perfect ending.
It's hard to conclude a good story.
It is hard to conclude. And in Game of Thrones setting, basing something off books aren't done yet. How do we make an ending for something that isn't complete when they want it to end? It's a very daunting task, and I don't envy that. And I think, I'm not saying they could have done it better or worse, because there's plenty of fans that say like, oh, they would have been better because of this, but it's such a polarizing topic. But I'll say like the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, without a doubt, are some of the best written TV I've ever seen. It is so intense. It's so engaging. There's so much going on, but they do it in a very clear way. You jump between a lot of characters, timelines, places, and things going on, but they do it in a way that very much makes sense. Like the only time I was ever confused in the show was whenever they introduced someone new, and then it took me just a little bit to catch up to who they were. But 2 episodes in after that, I'm like, I know who they are. I know everything that they're all about. And they juggle a lot of characters. Yeah. With a very big like scheme going on with all of them. All of them are plotting. You don't know who's going to align with who, and then where things end up with each of them. It's very unique. And I don't think any show has brought together a huge almost world level pull of attention. I don't think any show has ever gathered that much attention, because when they finally we're final season, it's happening, the premiere day and everything, it felt like a global event. It felt like a Super Bowl, because I remember on Instagram I've seen people doing cakes, doing parties, doing huge events for
just themed for it.
Just themed just out of pure excitement. So therefore show was incredible, including the ending, which people didn't love. I know I didn't love the ending either, but I can't ignore 5-6 seasons of really good content and just because of the bad ending. And then there's season 7, which was kind of where people said that it started faltering, but I can't ignore the previous 5 when 2 weren't good, or 2 were lesser quality than the other ones. But so I'd say, just out of the big pull, man, I would say high A, maybe S, depending on what else. We can always adjust it going back to so high A, depending on what else we put up there. But it's a show just because of how unifying the love that it got was. So Okay.
You want to Let's do Breaking Bad next, because we both seen.
I think Breaking Bad falls in a similar vein where it's gotten a lot of attention.
Yeah.
It's
recently, I feel like it's had a resurgence.
Yeah.
I
think it's number 8 on top TV shows in current watch time popularity right now. And it's always been very high even after it ended. But I mean, that show's spun off in so many ways. They have multiple tie-in shows. They have
the movie.
There's a movie now too.
Netflix movie, El Camino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw Breaking Bad for the first time over this summer. I binged it. I think I finished it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just watched as much of it as I could. This is pushing S for me.
Yeah.
I think this is an S tier show.
Yeah. And exactly the same vein that we just talked about with Game of Thrones is this show ended in a way that I could have only like it's, I can't see another possible ending for the show.
Yeah.
Is like,
I think it's the best way for it that it could have ended.
Yeah. And it's shows that tell a complete story, and that stories that are like more concerned with the plot than keeping the show running forever.
Yeah.
So the story ends, only not in a big like, oh, we've done this for 10 seasons. Oh my gosh. Like, no, it ended when the story felt like it needed to, because, just the characterization, everybody, like it's so unique. It's so unique to have a show like do it as well as they did it. It's good. I like Breaking Bad. I
love all the memes that come.
It had a second life with the memes, and then I feel like it's meme face. Like, it's still there, but like because of that, it's like the show's popular again now because of it. Because of the memes, and it's very fun. And character wise, like it took characters and flipped them on their head completely. Like, you get Walter White, who's a character who is extremely likable in the beginning. Yeah. He's just a dad, trying to do his best, and he's going through some real hard times. And
they throw your curveball.
He keeps getting in more mud and getting deeper and deeper. Yeah. And then by the end of it, he turns into a really, like, I'd say almost the end of it. Like, in the show, he's very unlikable. Yeah. And you're like, he's the main character. How can I? And there's points to show where I was like kind of upset watching him, just because I was like,
he's just making the wrong decisions.
I was like, you're just doing bad things. Yeah. And you can see how like this lifestyle totally took over him, which for the show was great. But I was like, man, this guy fell down. Like he let everything go. He spiraled. Yeah.
It was like the first show that I've ever seen where like the main character turns into something worse. Mm-hmm. Like usually they develop and get better. And I've never seen a show where they twist the character turning into like a worse person.
Yeah. And comparing that, which we just talked about Game of Thrones, and in that show, there's definitely like more unlikable characters. I'd say there's only like a handful of characters that was like universe, like we hate this person or whatever. But like even in that, villains were likable. Yeah. In Game of Thrones, it was like you could pick a side in Game of Thrones. Like you really could. Like they make you like less, like some people less than others, but really it was like, who's your favorite character? Because it bounced between so many that like you could pick a side and kind of be like, okay, I'm kind of leaning toward these guys. I'm trying to kind of learn to these guys. And they flip characters that way and just gray all the characters. And this one, it was like you really flipped like this character into the opposite side. And yet because I've watched him do this, he's gray for me now, even though I know he's doing horrible things, but I'm gray about him. And Jesse is kind of the opposite way with that, where it's like, oh, he's kind of just like this like druggy kid or whatever. And whatever. But then like, because he goes through the absolute ringer
so much,
you're like, oh my God,
so bad
like
for him.
Still doing bad things, but you're just like, no, you are tragic. Everyone thought that oh, you're the one that's gonna be polluting Walter or whatever, and it's like, no, it was the total opposite. You were Walter's like foot in the door, but then he sprinted down the hallway, and he dove into that. So my last thing to share before we rank it and move on to the next one is just the acting in that show was incredible. And I think one of the best acting scenes in the whole show, I'm not going to spoil it, but somebody dies towards the end of the show in front of Jesse. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? I got you. Yep. And his reaction to the death has got to be the most genuine reaction that I've ever seen, and it felt so real to me. Gave me chills. And honestly, what you point that out is great, because like I feel like a lot of time Bryan Cranston gets a lot of the attention, but I'm like, and deservingly so. He's great. Absolutely. But I'm like, every single character in that show was acted incredibly. Yes.
Also love Gus. Yeah. Giancarlo Esposito. He's playing. He always has the best villain character.
He's a good villain. He's very good at being cold.
Moff Gideon and Mandalorian and Far Cry.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know much about that. And then he was also in The Boys too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He plays the CEO.
He plays a good cold character.
Yeah, he's very, very good at it, which is very funny.
So are we both agreeing for S on
honestly, I think so. I think so. I think we put Breaking Bad and S. I feel like it's going to it's going to rank a lot of the other shows a lot for us,
especially in comparison.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a speed round of like adult cartoon shows?
Sure, we can speed run some because a lot of
them are kind of similar.
They kind of operate the same way. It's a lot of like current event talks or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean they'll operate the same way. So
I'll start on the most obvious one with Family Guy.
Family Guy,
it's been better.
I'd say through its life, I'd say maybe high C or low B.
Yeah, I was going to say B or C as well. It's like the older episodes were definitely better. And like the more they kept up with current events and making humor out of that, it kind of got less funny.
Yeah.
And I liked when they just had original jokes and nonsense stuff.
Yeah, the kind of the more nonsense or skit stuff I thought was really funny, but trying to stay up to date. It's like it feels like you like the people in the writing room are just watching the news and just waiting for something to happen. They're like, get your pens ready. As soon as something happens, start writing immediately. And I feel like it's same vein for probably American Dad as well. It's probably in the same. I think
American Dad's worse in my opinion. I've probably seen maybe couple episodes of it. Just that character Roger, the alien, ruins the entire thing for me. He's so annoying. His voice is enough to make me want to slam my head through a table. I don't like it. That's like D, maybe even.
Now to fight F. American Dad, I have an F. Wow.
I mean, maybe that's a bit much. Sure. I've laughed before. I'll say D. Are we agreeing on? Are we going to say C for Family Guy?
Yeah, I think that works.
C for Family Guy, D for American Dad, Cleveland Show. That's an F, right? Are we going to agree? I don't even want to touch on that. Nobody. All right. I don't think anybody likes that show. Let's see.
Futurama.
I haven't seen that, but I've heard that's good.
Yeah,
I heard that's genuine.
It's definitely not like gut bust laughing type stuff, but I really enjoy Futurama. Like,
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, I would say it's maybe like it's probably a high B for me. Maybe an A depending on whatever other comedies we have in here. But like I can watch Futurama any day of the week and just be happy.
What about Rick and Morty? I like Rick and Morty.
I like Rick and Morty. I haven't watched the newest season yet.
There's only like 2 seasons out at the time of this recording. Or sorry, two episodes of the new season. Yeah, there's been 2 seasons.
There's only 2 seasons.
2 episodes have come out since the recording. I mean, it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
I just resonate with their humor so well because they kind of touch on current event stuff, but also they do have a lot of original humor in there as well. Yeah,
it's very funny because it's like original humor that's also spoofing like all sci-fi at the same time.
It's literally spoofing everything.
And that's kind of why I like Futurama too, is because like it's totally spoofing on sci-fi while still like taking it semi-seriously. So it's wild, and I like it because it's just you never know what you're gonna get with every episode.
You'll get a random episode. They'll have an entire episode based off of a movie reference, which the episode that came out this week did that. Yeah. And it's just so funny. And there's just so many little quotes in the show and memes. Like the whole Pickle Rick thing was so popular for a while.
And I feel like finally like it's at a resurgence point again. It's kind of like similar to where Breaking Bad was at, where I'm like the first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty, like I feel like everyone just got hit with that like a dump truck, just like there's 3 seasons of the show, and we're like, oh cool, okay. And then like it became like such a meme.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a huge thing, and then all of a sudden we had like all those jokes, and then the Szechuan sauce and Pickle Rick and this huge movement where it was like for like a year and a half, that's all that was talked about. And I was like, okay. And then I got very tired of that. And then I didn't watch season 4 when it came out. Yeah. And like just about like a couple weeks ago, probably a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I was like, I really want to watch Rick and Morty. Yeah. And I watched the first 3 seasons again, and I watched season 4 finally. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, so season 5's coming out. I was like, great. So happy.
It all worked out.
Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I like it. I think it's good humor. I haven't seen Futurama, but would you say it's about the same spot? Like maybe B or B?
I'd stack them with each other.
I think B. I think putting it in A would kind of disrespect shows that are really well written.
Yeah.
Putting a animated comedy that high would just doesn't feel right.
It's fine. It's good.
B for that one.
Yeah, I'd say B's good.
And then I mean, South Park's pretty funny too. They kind of go too far with their humor a little bit.
That show.
Maybe a lot of it.
Maybe a lot of it.
I think because of that, I want to put it in C. I mean, sometimes it's funny, but I think sometimes they just push it a little bit too far.
Push a lot. and yeah, and it's a similar thing for me where like early seasons compared to new seasons, it's all like current event talk. And so same thing where it's like writers just sitting there in a room like waiting for something to happen and then just like, aha, we have a joke now, and they run with it, and then that's the entire episode. And I'm like, there's plenty of episodes where I'm just like, or by the end of the episode for South Park, I'm just annoyed by the end of the episode. And there's some that are like funny enough that I'm like, that was a fun episode or whatever. But yeah, there's a good chunk that I'm like, I sat through all that and I'm upset now.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any more animated comedy shows like that. I think we covered most.
You're watching Axe Cop?
I am not.
I haven't watched all of it, but you'd like it because you like Ron Swanson. You would like Rick Offerman. Like, it's Rick Offerman. Yeah,
is he in there?
Yeah. Oh, he plays the main guy. And
I can't wait.
Off the cuff, just really just wild, funny. It's very dry, but yeah, I think you'd like it. You should check that one out.
Trying to figure out where to segue next here. We could, since we're still doing a speed round, we could cover like old Nickelodeon and Disney live action shows.
Sure, riddle them off.
You want like Drake and Josh is a good place to start.
B.
I like that. I'm not. There's not too much to discuss. It's just solid humor. It's good references.
It's the classic like
2000s Nickelodeon humor with what's his name that had backlash about him. Dan Schneider and all his stuff. I mean, I think B is fair because it's not like a really well written show, but it's funny and entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining for the time. And there's still like clips I'll see on YouTube or whatever. And I'll just like click and watch. I'm like, this is still funny.
Get a good
nostalgic laugh. Yeah.
iCarly. I think it was slightly worse than Drake and Josh. Like there's a lot of drama in that show, like a little more injected boyfriend girlfriend drama,
a little more injected humor and a little bit more injected that boyfriend girlfriend like real like a little bit more, where Drake and Josh was just kind of like a lot of just like slapstick kind of just fun and the occasional story beat or whatever, but that one was like a lot of just like really focused on like the later preteen people.
I still enjoyed it, and I watched a lot of iCarly growing up. I think low B or C is appropriate.
I would go with C. That's where I'm comfortable with that one. Have you watched the resurgence of that? Is that
I haven't seen it. I've heard about it. I heard it's like more adult now. Like it's based off adult humor and adult themes.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't watched any of it, but
it for me.
Where it's like these characters are talking about like some like more adult stuff, and you're kind of just like, I remember you when you were very young. It's weird.
I'll do a throwback here. Full House. I mean,
I think that's the gold standard for like that. Those like
for
those like family comedy, like live audience type, like shows
with
like,
the laugh track and all that.
Yeah, laugh track, live audience. Like I think that's like the standard. Like they juggled and handled it all very well.
They tackled some serious themes in the show too. Like there was stuff about death and like fear and. You know, there's always a lesson to be learned by the end of the episode. Somebody would learn.
It was genuinely a good show to like watch growing up. Yeah, because it was like let me teach about life.
Yeah, there were good themes,
and you're gonna laugh while you're doing it too, and you're gonna cry while you're doing it, and but you're gonna learn a lot about like the world.
It's a very wholesome show.
Yeah.
I want to say A or B. I think A.
I think it belongs in A. I think it deserves that.
I think what's nice about this is since we're covering so many genres of shows, there's going to be a few that like can be almost like the top of its genre.
Top of its genre, yeah.
This will be like the top of like Nickelodeon sitcoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah. So we had Full House. I guess we could do Disney now unless you got a good Nickelodeon one to throw in.
I was just laughing thinking that we have Game of Thrones and Full House in the same category. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, but in their respective genres. They belong there, but I thought that was funny. Nickelodeon.
I mean, there's like Victorious and Zoe 101 and I don't know. See, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, it's
a lot of the ones that like aren't like the main staple ones are kind of just like they're all like the same stories, just being told slightly differently.
Dan Schneider humor.
Yeah, and it's
the producer who had weird backlash and things that happened. And
that's always.
I don't know. C.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those just be jumped into C. I'm sure there's someone's favorite out there, and that's totally fine. But
you're gonna be like real upset.
Victorious was my favorite. How dare you? I'm like, that's fine.
It's my favorite. Disney, there's what, like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and I'm trying to think of more. I grew up with more Nickelodeon rather than Disney shows, so
I actually leaned a slight bit more toward Disney growing up.
Yeah.
And I started with like That's So Raven.
Oh, I've heard that show.
Oh, so fun.
So Raven.
It's like, let's take this very classic high school crowd, a live audience type thing, and let's add this plot device where the character can sort of see the future, and sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it leads to just her messing things up more, or it's not what it seems. So that's real fun, especially when they do like gimmicks like that, where there's a little extra device that's in there to shake things up. But I feel like a lot of these probably follow a lot of the same categories as Nickelodeon, where a lot of them are like, none of them are like absolutely hilarious or anything like that, but they're funny for their time. But man, I think Zach and Cody was probably their best one.
I always enjoyed when that was on. Like I'd watch it quite often.
Yeah,
I think I enjoyed a lot more of the animated Disney shows. But I'll probably cover animated stuff in a separate episode. But yeah, those were good. Trying to think of anything more we can do in this speed round here of like similar shows that are categorized. I guess we could do like crime shows, like
let's get to the crime shows.
NCIS, CSI, Criminal Minds.
Let me tell you, all of those shows belong in C or less.
C or D. I feel bad because my girlfriend enjoys those shows, and like I do understand it for the crime part. Like that part is interesting enough, like true crime shows and whatnot.
Yeah,
or that wouldn't be true crime, but for me, the acting and the writing in those shows. The acting alone is just enough,
and it's the same premise
writing.
of we're gonna solve this very complicated crime in a 45-minute segment, and we're gonna either handcuff or shoot the bad guy at the end of this, and it's gonna end the exact same way, and basically the same plot is gonna happen maybe once or twice a season. And all the shows are the same.
Yeah.
We changed the setting and there's new characters.
It's Miami now.
But there's always like this.
We got Florida Man up in here for Miami.
Florida Man NCS would be amazing. But I think they have like NCS Miami or something like that. But it's like, but it's not Florida Man. Oh, yeah. Which would have been even better.
We should send that into whatever program is making that. Be like, you guys should do a Florida Man.
CSI special. Florida Man edition.
Florida Man.
And half of the episodes end with like, hey, we don't really know what happened.
That's so funny. But yeah, I think those all could be in D. I don't know if it's quite F because they have some creativity towards them. It's gonna be hard to find an F show out of all. It's
those like broadcast style shows that just they want to be around forever.
Yes,
and they're the polar opposite. Something like Breaking Bad, where it's like we're gonna have a definitive ending. We're gonna get there, and then it's gonna be done, and then like we're gonna tell a good story. These ones like we gotta live off this forever. Yeah.
And they don't know where to end the show.
Yeah.
I love shows that have I think what is it continuity. Yeah. Why silly.
Yeah.
Continuity where like it has a defined story. I mean, but like sitcoms and stuff are good too, where it's like somebody could be bald at the end of one episode and there's no continuity, like they're fine the next episode.
Yeah.
Like
it's kind of like which one do you want to do? And for those like cop shows, it's like they somewhat are trying to take themselves seriously and still be funny at the same time, but still wrap up a crime in this amount of time. But the thing is, those shows are totally meant for like just to have on TV and just be playing in the background, because that's exactly what my mom does. She loves those shows, and in the house, whenever I come home, it is literally there is NCIS, CSI. Yeah. Some type of cop show is on, and it's on loop, and I can understand exactly what happened. And that's what they're kind of built for, is like so you can just jump in and watch it without
Right.
needing to know the previous 3 episodes in order to know what's happening.
That is true. Like if it's on TV and a random episode comes on, like somebody can just be like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah. And they're like,
You
oh,
don't
this
have to
guy, he's
understand
the
much.
funny guy. She's the somewhat serious guy. He's
the nerd.
He's the nerd. And he's the boss. And then that could be 4 different crime shows that I just listed there. And you can go based off any of those. I'd say the only one that I've ever seen her watch that kind of stood above them for me was I watched Blue Bloods.
I haven't heard of that.
And that one has slightly more like story-based stuff going through it. And it's slightly more like serious in its story, and there's definitely more stuff hanging over. Like they're like, I just remember, like the only main episode is it's an entire family of cops. Like the main cop guy, he's like the chief of police, and there's one of the uncles is a detective. One of the guys, he's like a fresh like rookie cop or whatever. And yeah. And I just remember like they just treat the characters very seriously in that, where like the rookie cop or whatever, he's dealing with like a lot of like stress and anxiety from like his like first time being like first couple weeks or months being like out and like dealing with like the home stress of dealing with that and like some serious,
like seeing things for the first time, like graphic things,
and they treat him very seriously. So that one it's in the same vein as that it's a broadcast show, but it's just written very differently than that one. So that one, I that's the only one that I've ever like seen just like pop up with my mom watching it. I've been like, that.
What would you rank that one?
That one,
off of what you've seen.
That one's definitely above the other ones. I would say those other shows maybe like D like maybe, area, but that one I would say probably maybe high C. Like that one.
Well, you piqued my interest. I might have to check that one out.
Yeah, if you see your girlfriend watching some Blue Bloods, stick around for an episode maybe. See if she's into it. You're into it.
I guess like our main speed round is over here. All right, so I don't know if you've seen this one or not, but have you seen Yellowstone before?
I haven't. I've seen some clips and I've heard some people talk about it, and it's had my interest, but I haven't dove into it yet. So
yeah,
have you? Is a show on your list? Is it on your recommends?
This is up high on my recommended.
Okay.
I think I'm going to put this in a solid A tier for me.
Okay.
So for one, just the cinematography of the show is beautiful. Like it takes place in Montana. So you get like a lot of like just really pretty shots, and like there's a lot of golden hour in there. So I love the cinematography of it. The writing is just beautiful. There's no filler episodes. Like every episode is packed full of action and something important is happening. The characters are very likable. There's so much character development with multiple characters. Like they're not the same person they were in the beginning of the show. It's just, I watched it for the first time this past year, and I think I just got it on Amazon Prime, like bought it season by season, and the new season is supposed to come out in November. But basically the plot of it is there's this ranch out in Montana called the Yellowstone Ranch, or the Dutton Ranch. It doesn't have to do with the national park Yellowstone.
I was about to ask, are we in Yellowstone? But I was like, wait, that doesn't line up.
That's the name of the ranch that the name of the family is the Dutton family. That's their last name. And it's a drama about like everything that goes on this ranch. So you run into reminds me of Breaking Bad in that there's identifiable villains in like each season, and like these villains of the show, like there's a lot of like killing in this show and drama. And I went out west like last summer for the first time, and this just gave me vibes of being out west. I love everything about this show, and I'm going to put it in A.
Okay. Yeah. I think you've piqued my interest. Yeah.
I want to talk about it more, but I feel like I'd give away a lot about it if I tried to explain it. But yeah, likable characters, excellent writing, good cinematography, acting is beyond good. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I will. I'll have to I'm putting it on my list here, and
there you go.
Get to it.
Got another one I probably haven't seen. You could try to convince me to watch.
Oh yeah, let me convince you about this little gem called Invincible here.
Oh, I've seen Invincible.
You've seen Invincible? Even better then. All right, we'll talk about Invincible then. Yeah. Invincible is an S tier for me.
Yes.
S tier for me. Let me tell you, like, all right, so little behind the scenes for the show was that like this show didn't have a ton of money. Like it's not like the most funded animated project, but a lot of its money went with its acting. It's got great actors behind it. J.K. Simmons is in it. He plays Omni-Man.
Yeah.
This show subverted all expectations.
Yes.
Every episode I walked out there, I was like, I don't know where they're going with this. And it was so really great, which I was blown away by. Like, I've never had a show just like pull me into its world so quickly and just fill me with interest.
Yeah. Fun characters, funny characters.
Yeah.
I love all the voice acting, and like I like how there's a few celebrity cameos in there, like Seth Rogen is a character.
Yeah.
And like you said, J.K. Simmons. There's a few more that aren't coming to mind, but yeah.
They're all great. Steven Yeun. Yeah. It plays the main guy there. And yeah, it's like making like a likable, like coming of age, like high school story, along with like this huge galactic level, like threat and intensity. Yeah. It's one of the most like heartwarming and also it's heartbreaking. It's bloody. It's gory. It's hilarious too.
If you guys want to watch it, hope you have a strong stomach.
Yeah. It made me very emotional to watch, especially those last couple episodes. It tears you up inside and out. Like you're just like I feel sick watching it, but also at the same time, like this is like some real and powerful stuff. I loved the show so much that I've obsessed over it. I know they're working on season 2 right now. Yeah. And but I obsessed over it so much that I bought the first compendium of the comic.
Oh, that's
they have 3 of them for the total entire story of it. And I read the entire first one already. Nice. Which is like where we're at in the show is like a sliver. Like compendium that's like bigger than that. Oh my God, 1,000. Like I think it's like 1,000. Like 200 pages or something like that. And I think like where we ended up in the show, like we're maybe like 1/10 of the way through like the first compendium. Yeah. I was like, they can do so much. And it's very cool too with the comic aspect of it is that the main writer is Rob Kirkman, who wrote the book. Right. So it's like his second chance to like, in hindsight, like, I would have adjusted this writing as he became a better writer writing his own story. So it's like, what if I just went back and did it again? And he's kind of getting the chance to do that. Yeah. Again with the show, which is, it's so cool. It's very good. S for me. S. Never had a show make me go out of my way to learn more about it so quickly.
And the animation is really good too. For having a small budget, like you said.
Yeah. The animation budget was a little small. And you see it with certain frames and stuff like that, where you're like, oh, well, they're doing this a little bit cheaper or whatever. But
I cannot wait for the next.
Success of season 1 only means that it's going to look better in season 2. So love it. Great.
Yes. Keeping with the Amazon Prime theme, you want to talk about The Boys?
The Boys.
Have you seen the newest season?
Yes.
Yeah. Man. The Boys. It's such a different show. You've grown your whole life knowing that superheroes are good. And that they do the right thing and that they're good people. And you're like, oh, a superhero show on Amazon Prime. Oh, what's this? Oh,
yes. Very quickly out the gate, they let you know, no, that's not the show. And I think it's a perfect show to come out right at this time. The past couple years are
many superhero movies.
Yeah, we got superhero movies galore. We have TV shows galore. Like I feel like it's every other month we have a new movie or show to watch.
It's the biggest thing. I think the most popular like type of movie that hits the biggest box office numbers.
Yeah, huge. They're huge. And so to have a show that makes fun of it, but also at the same time is still one itself, is a perfect fringe for it. Because like at the end of the day, we're like, no, I don't think this superhero is going to take off the dude's head. Yeah. Well, then you watch The Boys and it's like, oh, they'll do way worse than that.
It's like just if superheroes were bad people and just spoiled brats.
And it's like what if superheroes were our sponsored athletes, or what if they were our celebrities, and we hear a different story every couple months or whatever about some athlete who does something bad at a party,
Yeah.
or messes up or does something, or a celebrity who's caught in some drama. Yeah. And it's like, oh, what if they were superpowered? And so a mess up at a party means like, oh, a building gets taken out.
Someone dies.
Or some collateral.
Yeah.
It's all about collateral. And I'm like, that is so intense.
Yeah.
And adds different weight to everything that happens. I've never been at the same time watching a show like so scared for what happens next and so excited. I'm like, what's going to happen? And almost like, I don't want to see what happens.
So worried that they're going to kill off somebody.
Yeah. I haven't felt that scared for characters since Game of Thrones. Because in Game of Thrones, I feel like every episode I was like, at any point, my favorite character could die. Yeah. And in The Boys, I'm like, anybody could die. Yeah. At any second. At any time. At any second, I feel like someone can just get killed. And they do that in multiple points throughout the different seasons that have come out. The newest season too. Yeah. Where it's just like, you think this person's going to live and be an important character? You're wrong. Whoops. Yeah. Boys is great. I am so happy for that show to be here, just to subvert expectations and kind of give a breath of fresh air in the superhero era. I don't want superhero movies to stop. Unique. Yeah, I don't want those movies to stop. I enjoy them, but it's very nice to get a refreshing, very different outlook. And that's the same outlook with Invincible too. Is it's that same nook where it's doing something you're familiar with, but that's very, very different. So for me, I'd say Boys would be like top A, borderline S for me. Yeah, I want to say A as well for that. Yeah. Let's see. Big one. Stranger Things. I'm worried because this is S for me, but I don't want to sound like a mainstream person because everyone has seen Stranger Things. It didn't start off that way.
It's a great show. Yeah. I love everything about the show. Yeah. And this newest season just took it to a level that I never would have thought this show would have gone.
And the show had such a long hiatus too that like the build up for this season was so intense. Unmatched. Yeah. And I feel like it's the only show since Game of Thrones that's been so unifying, where it's like everyone likes Game of Thrones, everyone likes Stranger Things, and the people who don't like Stranger Things, I'm like, all right, maybe you're just like, oh, it's too mainstream for me or whatever. Yeah. It's like, I'm like, yeah, but you should still watch it.
Yeah, I haven't met anyone that hasn't enjoyed it.
Yeah, like it's all just it's a great show. It's very like beautiful storytelling. It's very wholesome. At the same time, it's horrifying as well. Like I love those like old like Steven Spielberg like 80s style like coming of age stories, and like the horror aspect too. I love that too. Yeah. So I'm like, but like the thing that I love about it is that like, yes, the content is scary. Like this latest season is probably the scariest season.
Oh yeah, they took it to a whole new level with the newest season.
And like, I'm not terrified to watch it though. Yeah, I'm gonna get scared for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna get scared watching it, but like I'm not afraid to watch it. Where there's a lot of horror that's like oh, this is just gross to watch. Yeah. I'm like, there's plenty of gross things that happen in Stranger Things, but like I'm not like dissuaded by it because I enjoy the content so much. You know, they hit probably the best music out of anything. I mean, I love it.
I mean, they were the reason that Running Up That Hill had such a resurgence. Oh my god! I don't even think it was as popular as it was when it first came out. Yeah, I had asked my parents and people that were like of that age to hear it when it was coming out. Yeah, and it's there's so many memes that have come from the show. It's just
its entire life has been great. I have to show you one later, but it's just in my head right now. But it's got every beat that I'm looking for in a show. It has. Yeah. It's got drama. It's got character, like really well written character. It's wholesome. It's funny. It's super funny sometimes. Oh yeah. It's terrifying. Its cinematography is beautiful. Its color palette is beautiful. Like everything.
One of my favorite parts of the show, and you'll take it for granted, you won't even think about it, but how well they do of putting you in the 80s in the 70s and 80s. Like you don't doubt for a second or forget for a second that you're in the 80s.
That's
the technology, the like everything they're wearing in school, the music, just I love how you get sucked into this decade, this period of time.
They do so well set dressing and like getting everything right to like a T that like it's unnoticeable. Yes. And it just feels like it's been made back natural. Then. Yeah. Yeah. And there's plenty of movies that like take place in the 80s or in the 90s or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's like you're trying to make it look like that, and like sometimes you're succeeding when you got your perfect money shot or whatever, like it looks great, but then there's other times where I'm just like, this not all there.
This has got to be, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies that like where they're going back, they're taking place in a earlier time, and I just don't feel like I'm in that setting, like Stranger Things does. I mean, granted, there's a few movies that do, but
there's plenty of content that does, but like I don't think any of them immerse you quite as much as Stranger Things does, where it's like you're there, like that's what's happening.
Also, like that Stranger Things is essentially every horror show and pop culture reference tossed into one.
Yeah,
they're like the show is inspired by so many different things, and there's just inspiration from everything.
Every aspect. You've got comic book nerds that love it because you got all these nerdy kids who are obsessed with comic books, and like I'm in that same vein too. As season 1, they're talking about X-Men and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh yes, absolutely.
You got references.
You got a chick with superpowers in there. You got the 80s music. You got the nostalgia. You have horror villains like I said, like they're in every like season, like they're like doing like a different thematic.
I like how they themed it with the Dungeons and Dragons too. How like there's a new villain every season, and it is a character. Yeah, I don't really know much about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and they create an allegory between like a Dungeons and Dragons character and the monster that they have to face, and they're also like doing these 80s movies and comparing them to those like the first one. It's very much like Alien and Jaws-esque, where you have a single like hulking monster that's super powerful and destroying everything. And 2, you have, first of all, giant monsters. I love giant monsters, but then you have a horde of them, and you're like, oh, now we're in Aliens. Yeah. All right, now we got Stranger Things 3, and now we have like, oh, the town's taken over. We got like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's so cool. It's one of my favorites.
Season 4.
It's like
everything.
It's like Freddy Krueger and like Hellraiser, and then also still having the big monsters in there too and everything. So I'm like,
they throw everything together.
Yeah.
This S tier for you?
I would say so.
I enjoy every moment of that show. To me, there's not a single filler episode.
Yeah,
maybe one. And season 2, when Elle goes to Chicago to like meet her sister.
Oh yeah,
I think that might be the only episode I didn't enjoy.
And even this season, like this season is probably the longest season. It's it's like a little over an hour per episode. I think the last episode like two hours. 20, and yet it felt the most quick paced.
Oh yeah. I was like, it's over.
I burned through this last season so quickly that I was just like, oh, it's gone. Okay.
What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Now that I binged my entire show.
Yeah. And the lingering like talk on the internet for a while was like, oh, is this the final season? And I was like, I was worried about that going into it. And then the season finale happened. I was like, oh no.
This is not the end.
It just blossomed into
the next one will be the end though. And they're talking about spin-off shows going in.
I'm down for spin-offs.
Yeah. Well, good chat for that. Yeah, definitely S tier for me. And I think we got time for a couple more here. We could cover The Walking Dead.
Sure. Same writer as Invincible, actually.
Oh yeah,
the comic book. Yeah.
In hindsight,
I don't know how much he involved himself in the show. I haven't watched all of Walking Dead, so I'm sure you can educate me more on this. But I mean, man. First 2 seasons of Walking Dead are excellent.
Oh yeah,
I think I watched up to like 4 or 5, but those first 2 seasons stick in my head very deeply.
Yeah. I've seen. I want to say I stopped watching somewhere in season 6 or 7. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but like when a certain character dies that most people know, that's when a lot of people stopped watching.
That had such intense buzz around. I think like their advertising for the show generates such like an intense like hype for the show that really we match with the Game of Thrones and Stranger Things level of hype, where like people were like, whoa, this is intense. Yeah, like they're like one of my favorite characters might die, and it turns out was one of everyone's favorite characters. And I definitely enjoyed the earlier seasons a little bit more. It's a cool show because going into you're thinking like the problem is always going to be the walkers, and then you're like, there's human drama going on in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Yeah. And like there's these villains, there's people they're running into, and man, the villains are
very well written, and like you hate them because they do such a good job of
and I think the first couple seasons of the show balance that really well, where it's like you have this imposing threat of the walkers, where it's like
that's always going to be
that's always going to be around, and it's a huge wall. You have to be safe. You have to always circumvent that. You always have to be around that. But the real unpredictable threat was the people. Where it's like you have these malicious people who will do really bad things because they're just trying to survive.
It's just so ironic.
Yeah, it's very ironic where it's like the evil of it is like, it was like, well, yeah, the walkers, they're monsters or whatever, but like the people are purposefully evil. They are malicious. They are
evil.
That is real. Like, that's what I always found really interesting about the show. Because for a while, I feel like before Walking Dead, we were in a spot where like a lot of like our zombie content was a lot of just like shoot 'em ups.
Very repetitive,
very much shoot 'em up, where it's like, oh God, there's zombies in the city. They're machine gun toting and shooting them up or whatever. But this I feel like was Walking Dead was like the first like real big breath of fresh air in like wide stream like media.
They took it to a different level for sure.
And that gets me very excited because I don't know if you see anything from it. It's not out yet, but they're doing a Last of Us TV show.
Oh, I know of the game, but I don't know a lot about the game. I just know
it's a very similar thread where it's like these like zombie-esque. It's not exactly zombies, but whatever. These zombie-esque like monsters are just like part of the world now, and they are ruthless. They are horrible, right? But the main antagonist of the game / show that's coming out is always the people, and it's very much like survivor mentality, and it's very heavy. Like I have not had a video game make me weep like that game did.
I don't know, man. Red Dead Redemption 2 had me weeping.
I'll tell you, they're pretty similar feelings, but and so that gets me very excited for the show. It's in post right now, so I don't know the exact release date, but Pedro Pascal is playing the main lead. So, and I've only seen a little snippet of the show. I don't think they have a full trailer out yet, but man, that was the best part of Walking Dead was that, and Last of Us hit that vibe perfectly in the show and literally made me cry playing the game. So like, cannot wait for the show.
Yeah, that'll be great.
The revival of the zombie genre starts with The Last of Us. Please. Yes.
So I'm having a bit of a hard time thinking where I want to rank Walking Dead. I think B or A is solid. It's definitely not S. I think because of the repetitiveness, I think that is the show still going on right now? Because I think it is.
Is it really? What are they on, like season like 11 or something like that now?
There's a lot of repetitive themes in the show, and I think it needed to end sooner. And
it's the struggle to put things in a good ending, and where we're at. If Rick is still alive, let me tell you.
let me ask me something.
The characters are just invincible. And that's that.
The one character is literally invincible, Steven.
Well, he is now.
He is now.
But I don't have any fear for my characters in that show. Yeah, where things ended up, I was like, I'm not afraid of them in this scenario. And really, when they had their moments of going against the main characters, I was like, whoa, it's the revival. But then they did it once, and they kind of just like went back to the same, where it's like the characters aren't going to get bitten by a zombie.
I think between the filler episodes and the repetitiveness, I want to put this in B. Would you agree with that, or would you like to put it?
I would throw it in B. It had very well enough writing, especially in the beginning, where it deserves it, it deserves higher, but the unwillingness to end it.
It was its own undoing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's we have two more I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover Squid Game and Avatar. I really would like to have a good discussion about Avatar, so I guess we could discuss Squid Game first more quickly.
Sure. Excellent.
It was a great show. And let me tell you, out of nowhere, like I remember I had a coworker who was telling me about it, and it was very small at the time. Nobody knew about it. And they're just telling me how good it is. I'm like, I don't know. And then And then it became huge, and everybody
it blew up so quickly.
Yeah,
so quickly. I feel like it was lingering for a while, and people was kind of like a murmur. But then I feel like it had a similar start to Stranger Things, where
you did not know where it was going.
You didn't really know where it was going, and also like when it first came out, like it was just a murmur. Like people were talking about it, but it wasn't anything. And then the word of mouth just spread, and then it blew up. Yeah. And it was you and Jake that actually convinced me to watch Squid Game. I hadn't watched it yet, and then you guys gave me that Gion sticker. Oh, yeah. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I want to watch the show now, I guess. And I had that on my car forever.
Yeah.
Washed away. Oh my finally, gosh. Unfortunately. But yeah, that, and then you guys got me to watch it, and I didn't regret it. It was great. Yeah.
Once again, we have a very unique show where there's, in my opinion, not another show close to similar to it at all. Mm-hmm.
It took the idea of like, what if we just took like Saw and put it behind playground games. And I'm like, genius. I love it. I think it was great. And you really feel like the last like couple characters that are around in the show, like you really feel for all of them. And it's with them, and it's heartbreaking to watch.
It is
a lot of characters. Yeah, I'd say even the last like 3 episodes, like I mean, the first like couple episodes are like, whoa, these characters are gonna go.
Oh, that guy's go.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. And then like the first like last 3 episodes. I mean, I was just getting heartbroken every single time. Yeah. Usually the heartbreak only happens like maybe once or twice a season, and then the finale. But like every episode for Squid Game, I was pretty much just like, and I had real fear in that show. Like I was anxious watching that.
That I just felt generally uncomfortable for a good part of the show. Like. In a good way, like I just like the uncertainty and like the anxiousness of like what's going to happen. And I want to say it was around episode 4 or 5. It just really started to get interesting after like the first part of the episode happens when they first go to the game. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like this.
They make you feel a lot of intensity behind. The only aspect I didn't really love was the VIP thing with it, where people were betting at the end. That was real weird for me. Yeah. I don't know how I felt about that, but if they expound upon it in later seasons and make it a little more interesting, I'd be excited to see. I'm not going to complain about seeing anything about it because it was such a small aspect of the show, so I can't really complain about it all that much. But
I think A.
Yeah. It's deserving of A. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Squid. No.
All right. Well, the last show we'll discuss is Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we'll just already say it's an S tier.
It's an S tier.
Obvious. One of the greatest shows of all time. Iconic.
And getting revived again.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. There's so much new Avatar stuff. We'll talk about it by itself first, and then we'll talk about the expounding of it. Expound.
This wonderful show.
Childhood. I watched that show with my grandma.
I'm going to out myself here. I saw it for the first time last summer.
All right. What finally, were you reluctant to watch it? Were you afraid that it was going to
I don't know why I didn't watch it for so long. Well, growing up, I just, it never caught my eye. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think there was any one particular thing that made me be like, okay, I'm going to go watch this. It was just like, I need a new show to watch. I know this is good. And I watched it just blown away.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni, who went here at Edinboro, was he the main producer of the show?
I can't remember what his role was.
I want to say he was the producer or maybe the writer, but just so cool to have someone from around here create a show that just everyone loves and cares about and knows. And man, just what a wonderful show. So beautifully written, such little filler content, likable characters, good character development. You know, it's funny, it's sad, it's wholesome, it's entertaining, there's action. Just overall great show.
Yeah, he did work on Avatar. Not seeing which aspect he worked on, but it says he was either a creative or executive producers or some regard. But yeah, Dave's great. Dave is pretty much responsible for all of our Star Wars content.
Yeah.
That we have in the modern time, and he's from here. Yeah.
Yeah. Just crazy to think that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love all that content that he's made. But yeah, Avatar. I watched most of it when I was younger. And I was probably like seven or 8 when I watched it. And yeah, it hit all his marks. You said it's very wholesome. It's very like real coming of age story of all these characters. All these characters have great arcs and teaching like love and responsibility and all these like heavier themes, and then still being hilarious and action packed at the same time, and like it and having some beautiful storytelling. And like that's a clear indicator of knowing when it wanted to end. Yeah. Like we're getting it revived here shortly.
I'm excited about that.
But me too. Yeah. But for its first story it wanted to tell, it clearly had an end goal of where it wanted to end. Oh, yeah. And it's like from the beginning, you can
see it coming.
Yeah. We knew where we wanted to get to with our characters. And there's no character that I think is missing in this. Like they all have full fleshed out characters. All the villains are great in it. We have good guys turn bad guys turn good, and all these other things. And the main villain, I mean, he's just a classic like burn all the world down villain, but he's exactly what we needed because it was not about him at all.
Right.
The villains were all great. Azula, love her. Queen.
And then Ozai, of course.
Ozai.
The fact that Mark Hamill was the voice.
Mark Hamill, an absolute gem. Yeah, it's my childhood, like all wrapped up in one. And man, yeah,
I don't see how it could have been better.
Yeah,
either. I don't know how you could improve upon it.
Yeah, it's every character is a beautiful story and wholesome and great in every aspect and way. And I mean, it's got so much more content to it too. They've got comic books about it too. They have the sequel series with Korra, which I also love, and now we're now getting a second attempt at a live action version that's coming.
The movie we should.
Yeah, we're not going to speak about the movie, but we're getting another attempt at the live action. It's going to be a TV show. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
I really hoped for it to be good. I'm really hopeful. Because I just love the content. But then again, we're getting a sequel series to it now with the characters, adulted up, and we'll be getting more series with original characters and more series of returning characters. So maybe that means we'll get new avatars. Maybe we'll get more Korra. Maybe we'll get more. We're definitely getting more of the original show. So it's just all around good, and I love the world, and I can't wait for more.
Yeah, I think that was a great show to end off on, one that everybody can agree that they love.
And that's the only one in this entire list where I'm saying that if you don't agree, you're wrong.
Yeah, you actually are wrong. And I don't know. I can just encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to like reach out there. Go watch it, go binge it. It's a wonderful show.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up our tier list for the day. And just remember, these are our own opinions. So, don't get upset about what we say.
Let us know your list.
Yeah. If you're not happy, make your own tier list in the comments. Actually, that would be great. Go ahead and do that. Well, thanks again, Levi, for coming on the show.
Of course.
I might be glad to have you back again some other time for another topic.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And thanks again for tuning in to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And we'll see you next week.